This show is part of the Transpodcaster Visibility Initiative.
Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything do you have for me today?
Something strange coming out of the SK system, ma'am.
Seems a popular
It
place.
appeared. Oh, it is a weird bunch of people, ma'am. Apparently, they have issues with what is known as WAG, and it is not from an animal they refer to as a dog. In this case, WAG is stands for the Writers Guild, Writers Associated Guild. Are not exactly sure. The humans are a strange people, ma'am. So let's get into the whole issue behind what's going on with the Writers Guild. Folks, if you haven't heard by now, the Writers Guild is on strike. And it's been on strike, what, for the past 2 weeks now, Sasha?
Yeah, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks now.
About something like that. And from what I've been hearing, it's going to be on strike until possibly November, if not November the latest, if not until the end of the year. And the dominoes are starting to fall in regards to it. Meaning, folks, if you don't really have your ear to the ground that is Hollywood, like me and Sasha tend to have, there's a lot of writers and a lot of directors that I wouldn't say writers. There's a lot of actors and a lot of directors that are also part of uh, the Writers Guild. Because if you write something a lot or write a lot of episodes in Hollywood, a lot of movies, you also have to join the Writers Guild or the Writers Union.
Yep.
So if you're someone like Seth MacFarlane, like him, hate him, who is not just a director and a show creator, he's also the writer of the episodes for Family Guy and American Dad. He's also an actor, so he belongs to three guilds. He belongs to the Writers Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, and the Directors Guild. And right now, the Writers Guild's on strike. And to show solidarity, I think I saw the one article saying that because Seth MacFarlane is showing solidarity for those at the Writers Guild, he's stepping back from Family Guy and American Dad as a showrunner. He still wants to act, but from what I've seen, it's just a headline. I have to look at if I was able to do laundry today like I was supposed to. I would have gotten into that article to see more, but the way it made things seem, I'll put it like that the places airing American Dad and Family Guy are, in essence, canceling both shows indefinitely. So take that as you will. And because of the whole thing stems from streaming, meaning for those who don't know this or don't, again, not like me and Sasha, when best way to describe it is with Screen Actors Guild. If you watch a show on TV, I'm not talking Netflix, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus. I'm talking about ABC, NBC, CBS, USA, TNT, something original on those stations. If me and Sasha appeared on a TV show that aired on broadcast TV, we would be part of the Screen Actors Guild. Not only would we be paid for that episode, but every time that episode gets aired somewhere on this planet through broadcast TV, we'll get residuals. Sometimes it might start out as, I'm probably going high or low depending on if you are a major actor, again, let's go with a major actor. I want to go with Keanu Reeves. I think Keanu Reeves is a cool guy for the most part. Keanu Reeves might get $1,000 if he guest starred on a show. And each time that show gets played over the years, it goes from $1,000 to maybe 900 to 800 to 500 to 400 to 100, then 50, then maybe about 10 years later from now, he's going to get like $5 and change. Same thing goes for, again, with me and Sasha. We might get $100 first couple of times. 10 years from now, we're getting maybe $1.50. But when it comes to streaming, where on an episode that me and Sasha, a TV episode, let's go with like NCIS. If we appear on NCIS, if that episode appears anywhere in the US or the world on network TV or cable TV, we could get $50 from residuals. Where when it finally hits Netflix, Paramount, or whatever streaming service, we're just getting $5.50. Same thing happens with the Writers Guild and the other guilds as well. You're not getting enough, that it's discounted heavily. And the writers are like, wait a minute, if we write an episode for network TV, we're getting maybe 5-10 grand, and yet when we write, that's for just one show. For us to get that amount for a streaming show, whether it be Disney Plus, Netflix, or Hulu, or Apple TV, we're only getting $1,000 for one show. We have to do 10 shows to get the same amount of money we would for network TV. And plus the residuals are even lower. I mean, if it goes from Netflix to Vudu, let's use Stranger Things. You could buy Stranger Things on Vudu. Same thing with Chuck, the Child's Play series. Chucky, I think it is, or it's Child's Play.
Yeah, Chucky.
You could, if it's on Shudder and it goes to Vudu, that writer is not getting the same amount of money. They're not getting where they're getting $1,000 to write the episode for, let's say, if it appeared on Shudder. As soon as it goes to Tubi or Vudu, they might get only $20. They want more. They want something a little bit higher. They're probably not asking for another $1,000, but they want something more than what they're getting.
Shock and Terror with Sasha, the Princess of Darkness, and Chris, the Martinsburg Madman, in Sasha After Dark, the podcast of darkness. Reboot.
Things are changing in the way that we watch and access our media, and writers just want to make sure they get the same shake. But I think, and this is me, I'm here, I am on the side with the studios and the streaming companies. Unlike when something's broadcast on TV, like back in the day where you were subject to those channels that you had and that's it, you can watch whatever you want now whenever you want, but not everybody is watching it with you. So as a result, when you're a streaming company, you're going to need to have some sort of bulk price for that being on your service, because otherwise it would be hard to keep track of each individual view and then pay per view to that particular actor, studio, etc. In theory, that would be the practical way of doing it, but it would wind up being more complex than what it would need be. Because with broadcast television, you're transmitting a signal that nobody can alter other than change the channel and watch something else. But with streaming, you could be watching Perfect Strangers while I'm watching Northern Exposure. But it doesn't mean that because I'm watching Northern Exposure just that once, then it's on the streaming service available for anybody to use it, but not everybody's watching it, that they're going to get the same price as they did as broadcast. The market is changing, and as a result, not only the actors are trying to make sure they get a fair shake, But the studios and the broadcast companies and the streaming services are kind of like, look, not everybody's watching this all at the same time. Not a lot of people are deciding to watch Family Matters at the same time, hence why we're not going to pay extra for this particular episode. So they got to come up with a bulk rate if they carry those episodes. And that's where I think a lot of the befuddlement comes from, is because when something's broadcast and transmitted, you have little control over it other than changing the channel. And whereas with streaming, as the end user, the person consuming the media, so to speak, you can pick and choose what you're watching and when you're watching it. And that's where the problem comes into play. Versus you have a mass of people that are getting force-fed this content versus the individual who can watch it whenever they want. And obviously, everybody wants to make sure that, A, they're getting their fair cut, but the studios are kind of like, why am I going to pay $500 for this one episode if that's not an episode that's being watched all the time?
I get where you're coming from, but I'm citing more so the writers and everybody else. Some of the issues that I've been hearing that some folks are at least coming through my end of things is that, one, places like Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus, what they're doing is they're hiring, instead of hiring maybe 5 people to do the show, they're hiring, I'm not going to go down the road, they're hiring people that don't know the product, what have you, and like that. That's a different argument for a different time. But what they're doing, instead of hiring 5 people for an atypical series, whether it be The Mandalorian or Stranger Things or whatever these streaming services are coming up with, they're hiring 15 people because they, for whatever reason, they're just tossing money at it. And because they have 15 people on this, they're also, the places like Netflix, Apple TV, or whatever, they're like, why do we have to shell out more for this? Because it's one, you want at least some of the commentators I'm listening to and watching on YouTube, they're saying, you want these 15 people. You're hiring these 15 people because depending on the program, you're being told you need X in order to qualify for this particular award. You need X number of type of person, or you need, whatever, and that's what you're doing. And all of a sudden now the fit's hitting the fan, so to speak, and you're saying it's not, you have to do this. It's like, we don't have the money. Well, you're the one that screwed yourselves over. and I can understand that point, because that's what they did. And not to mention, with this strike going on and the potential of the Directors Guild going on strike and the Screen Actors Guild going on a strike, and instead of a lot of these streaming services, from what I heard, we heard, I think earlier this year, HBO doing it. Now Disney's doing it. Heck, I think HBO might have done. I'll say this: HBO either did it late last year or early this year. Is that when they just decided, you know what, we're not releasing any more stuff, and we're pulling half our crap, meaning half the cartoons and half the other stuff that was on HBO Plus got pulled, and we saw, I think it was early this year. Guess what? Catwoman, though it's filmed, we're not releasing it. So we spent $100 million on a project no one's ever going to see. Disney Plus is now saying, or Disney saying, hey, guess what? All that content on Disney Plus, we're removing a sizable chunk of it and putting it in our vault. My thoughts on this is how we might differ on this, is that, wait a minute, you're having a writer's strike. Folks are going to get hungry for content. You have a streaming service available to you for more people to watch. Yet and I'll use this as the mask as the tinfoil hat. I'll put it on in a way by saying there could be a reason why some of these corporate companies, streaming companies from Disney, Apple, HBO, that are pulling a bunch of the content. If they have to pay writers not so much by view, or I should say, if, let's say, go with your argument, for every 50,000 views during a quarter period, 3-month period, 4-month period, you get 100, like $50 or whatever. We'll do it that way. Let's pull all these shows and shelve them and put them in a vault. Now we're saving money. Then the people that lose, it's not a win. It might be a win for the studios, but it's a losing game for the viewers. That might be like you and I that have cut, and plus everybody else has cut the cord because, hey, we want to have a fit of nostalgia and watch maybe the original Muppets on Disney, or watch the classic 90s X-Men show on Disney, or watch something on HBO Plus or Hulu or something like that. It's not there because it's hiding. They don't want to pay the writers because the writer's strike, we don't want to give them all that money. They want more money. Why should we pay them? But this is where you and I can agree on. There is one other winner in this: the independent creator. Folks like EPG,
and
one
thing
folks like you and I
forget about is the fact that during a writer's strike, and we've had writer's strikes. This isn't the first
the last one was
ever.
We've had last one was like 2008, I think it was.
Right.
At least that's what I've been hearing.
But we have them about every 10 years. Like some of the best stuff in the 80s came out during writer's strikes because Hollywood took a risk.
We got Survivor thanks to we got a Survivor, and I think American Idol from writer's strikes too.
Some of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels, granted, it's not a good example, but most of them, especially after the Dream Warriors, was all writer's strikes. Every last one. So content was still getting pushed out because the studios were hiring scabs, and there's nothing wrong with that. It gets new people in. Don't get me wrong, unions are great, but we're now in a world where it's completely changing. Broadcast is not the same thing as it used to be because now we have streaming, and streaming companies
but
turn into cable companies now. And I think that's why the guilds are getting upset, because they're seeing the exact same thing that happened in the 80s happening now with streaming. Because I don't know if you've seen Verizon's latest advertisement of, hey, you pay us X amount a month and you get all of these extra channels for cheap and you can choose your package. And I'm just sitting there like, that sounds like cable. And we did all of this to get away from cable. And I mean, I hate to say it, but physical media, it's always going to be there for you,
And granted, physical media is always there. You and I could both get stuff at pawn shops, Walmart, granted Walmart plus pawn shops, and plus going through independent creators. I think we can agree. It's like, though we both hear from those who support cable and dish type aspects, or that way of thinking, streaming costs just as much as cable. I'll be the first one. I take it again. Though I've been doing this with you for the past couple of weeks, I take it you don't care if I curse a lot.
No. And this would be a good spot to put in our intro before we get too long.
Dramatic. So let's go. So dramatic pause. Those who've been listening to us on audio would know how we've been doing that lately. But still, with those who've been, I talk to this. Well, streaming now costs as much as cable. I tell them flat out, fuck you. If you're
it's
paying
starting
the
to
same
cost
amount,
more than cable did. I hate to say it, because with
that's because they keep my cost right now is about the same as a base cable package.
Mhm.
Base. Despite what Netflix is planning on doing with sharing passwords. But if I go with what I am paying for, I pay for Netflix. I pay for Disney Plus.
But here's the thing.
That's it.
This is what
That's it.
always upset me about the streaming cycle in and of itself. Streaming, when it first happened, okay, and I'm old as fuck. I might be a little road rashy and a little aged looking at the moment, but c'est la vie. But when streaming started, it was a free service along with your Blockbuster service and along with your Netflix service. When Netflix was still mail order discs, it was free. And it wasn't like movies, like as soon as they came out, you were getting them, but they were fairly popular movies, things of that nature. And it was kind of like going to the library. Just should the library have to pay all these extra residuals every time somebody checks out Labyrinth? Should the library pay every time Clive Barker is checked out? And library is pretty much free. And the problem is that when streaming kind of became bigger, that's when they started kind of saying, well, we got to charge more for it because people were using it more. And that's where the problem started. I mean, I won't lie.
And what
we kind of cut cable to just do internet and streaming, but
let me just say this. I cut cable because I got sick and tired of paying for. If I wanted to watch Walking Dead, I had to pay Comcast Xfinity an extra $40 a month to get another
AMC.
channel package just to get AMC.
And this is the thing with the problem with cable and the problem with streaming.
If the popular channels, let's say the popular channels are AMC, Cartoon Network, because of Rick and Morty, and TNT. Even though I think TNT and AMC are owned by the same people. But I'm just saying, if those three channels have popular programs on them, a company like Xfinity could put each one of those stations on a separate package to pay more. Whereas someone like myself could tell Xfinity, fuck you, I'll just go with an internet service, pay for Netflix, and wait until that show appears on Netflix at the end of after about 2 months after it comes out on DVD. Therefore, I'm saving myself not just $100, $120, $140 for your complete package to have those three channels. I'm paying $15 a month.
But here's where the problem comes in. And this is what the cable companies used to like to do to people too. Very few cable companies offered a la carte with their bundles. And a la carte meaning you can pick whatever channels you want for that 10 packet. Like you could have 5 premium or 10 standard. You know what I mean?
Right.
Very rarely did they allow that, because the bundles, they only included certain things. And so you would have to have more than one bundle to get everything that you wanted, because rare was the situation that everything that you wanted was covered in one bundle. The streaming bundles are doing that now too. Consider the whole thing with ESPN, Disney, and Hulu.
Yeah.
That's great, but what if you want to watch The Last of Us? What if you want to watch something on Showtime? Well, they're all part of separate bundles. You're screwed, And Warner Brothers now has Cartoon Network, TNN, TBS, Boomerang, TV Land, TNT. It's all Warner
Yeah,
Bros.
I think that was what was going on with HBO. They got rid of a whole mess of stuff that was on Cartoon Network and on their platform. You can't find those programs anymore. You have to pirate those programs because I think HBO was Warner Brothers was selling off a bunch of their networks, and for whatever reason, they said, "You know what? You can't. We're not because we're doing this. No, you're not going to be able to watch it no more." But like I was saying, for me, my cost is maybe on the yearly basis about the same as roughly basic cable, about $40 a month on average. Maybe if a little bit higher if I want, you know what? I want a season pass this season's NCIS or this season's Bar Rescue. Yeah, that's going to go up, but I could go on PlayStation Network, I could go on my Xbox Live. I could go on Vudu. I could season pass Bar Rescue or NCIS, my favorite show, if it's available to be season passed. But then again, you have a few shows that you have to go through, as you said, go through a streaming service in order to get. Meaning, like when Futurama comes out later this year, it's Hulu only. I won't be able to season pass it until probably next year. Like Chucky, let's go with shows like Chucky, The Boys, and a few others. Heck, I think even Netflix does it with Stranger Things. Yes, it comes out on the streaming services, but if you don't have Netflix, you can't watch Stranger Things. You have to wait until it comes out either on DVD or you're able to buy it through Vudu or Amazon.
At the end of the day, this is going to make things worse because the Writers Guild, the strike, the whole 9 yards, the directors hopping into it, because now the streaming companies are going to be like, hey, they're either going to put a cap on how much you get paid. Like, for example, if Netflix optioned a series or even had a retro series on there, they're only going to pay X amount for that series. If it's not one of their homebrewed, one of their own things, they're only going to want to pay that flat fee. They're not going to want to pay per view because that may be hard to calculate, and then even if they had to pay per view, it's going to up regular membership fees. It's just going to cave in on itself. So honestly, it's one of these things, and it's stupid of the guilds and the unions to do what they're doing, because I'm going to be frank, they didn't future-proof their agreements. They thought that the broadcast and the cable systems were always going to be the way things were.
And the sad thing about that, a lot of the broadcast networks, whether it be ABC, NBC, whomever, even Fox, they still latch on to the old ways. Meaning, you could have a successful show. Let's use Rick and Morty. It's successful. We can agree with that.
For now.
At least for now, it's successful. Where Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, still looks at Nielsen ratings. That's all they see is Nielsen ratings. Yet you and I could watch it the day after it airs on Hulu. And we could buy it the day after on Vudu if we so wish. If we have the money.
It's only on HBO Max.
And it's also on HBO Max.
No, it's only on HBO Max, apparently.
No, I was able to watch it the day after on Hulu.
Okay.
So, that being said, they're not doing anything about it. I mean, they could say, hey, when it comes out, it could be a while. People are talking about it. You're talking about it. I'm talking about it. Everybody's talking about it at work. There could be I'm going to go extremely big on this. 100 million people in the United States talking about this week's episode of Rick and Morty. I'm trying to make a point with me, folks. Please go with me. But according to the Nielsen ratings, it would get a 0.5. That is a 500,000 people saw this week's episode. If so, but yet 50 million people could have watched it on Hulu, combination of Hulu and HBO, and got it on Vudu. But Adult Swim and Warner Brothers will tell you, we don't go by those numbers. We go by the Nielsen numbers. It's shitty. We're canceling it.
Yeah.
And it happened to hockey. I remember that to this day. I was living here in Martinsburg at the time. The NHL came off a strike. They had their first game. It literally, that game, according to the Nielsen ratings, had a 0 rating. Literally, it had according to Nielsen, nobody watched it. Nielsen's a fucked up way of measure a metric anyway, because it's people with a box attached to their TV, attached to their cable box. So if they don't watch, apparently those people are not watching yet. 50 million people, 100 million people could be watching hockey at any given time. It's still a flawed system, and that's what a lot of these corporations are going by. And a lot of corporations, in regards to streaming, heck, Netflix refuses to share numbers. Disney refuses to share numbers. For what I hear, it's like, hey, it could be the worst episode that dropped on Disney or whatever, depending on who you want to listen to. On YouTube, they could say, hey, no, from what we've been hearing on certain insiders that work for Disney, Hulu, or whatever, it wasn't the best, but Disney, Apple TV is saying it's the best episode ever. It has our highest, watch rate ever. Didn't release numbers. No, we're not going to do that.
But the thing of it is,
and I still say,
at the end of the day, the guilds, the studios, everybody else needs to get back to the bare basics of contracts. And this is what the contract says. This is what we're agreeing on. This is what you're getting paid. And those contracts should be like with anything with a union, have a renewal period. Every 3 years, the terms of that contract is re-examined. And then the union and the studios are going to have to discuss how that's going to work out. And you're going to have your union members vote on certain aspects, and they're going to get what they can get, and the studios are going to get what they can get, and things work. And if they don't, then you have a strike. But Hollywood never operated that way before. And I hate to say it, with streaming, they're going to have to start doing that if they want streaming to remain viable. But the way it looks nowadays, with the streaming companies getting more and more greedy, because Netflix basically, and I want to say this was a while back, where they released a report basically saying, oh yeah, consumers will complain about this change, but we'll slowly work it in and they won't notice and give a fuck, because where else are they?
Not to mention, let's put it, though, it's not just that. The 2020, or whatever, for everything that happened in 2020, the streaming companies from Apple TV to Netflix saw a big bump because everybody was locked inside. They got, everything went to their egos.
And so with the writers and the studios
and all that,
everything else too. That's why everybody's scrambling for the pie.
Now everybody's going back to the theaters. Netflix lost a butt ton of subscribers. It just came out with, over the past week or so, that Disney, whether it's Disney Plus entirely or over Disney, Hulu, ESPN, they lost close to 2.5 million subscribers over the past week and a half to, whenever. 2.5 million. And the thing is, if they keep, for whatever reason, price, quality of content, toss a dart at the excuse board. They lost subscribers. A lot of these places are losing subscribers. People are going out more. They're not locked inside. So that means either they have to spend less, which we could probably agree on, but they want to still shovel money into the burner, and eventually they're going to fail.
Yeah.
Heck, I'm sure you've been hearing that Blockbuster might be making a comeback.
I've heard that rumbling for a while. I don't really see it happening.
The thing is, I'm still going to push the fact that you have, guess what, folks? Indie creators are out there. The indie creators, I know it sounds greedy, will still love to have your money. They're, whether in this area, in my area, Sasha's area, again, I'll name them. EPG, Slasher 15, there's one with the key in this title, Key 15, I think it is.
Yes.
Darkstone. We might not agree in regards to how a lot of these folks may operate, because I heard you scoff. But I'm just saying, you have these independent creators.
I was like, yeah.
But still, I'm trying to make regards to independent creators, like them, hate them, whoever. I'm just saying, those are independent creators. They're putting out their. They would love for you to support them, and they're putting out original content on an annual basis. They're trying, and there's a lot of potential there, and they would be happy that it's like, hey, we don't want more reality TV show. Fine, go to, but we don't want the best way you could do it is to donate to their Indiegogos, support them, because the more money they have in their pocket, the more quality they get better. Look at, again, I'm going to use David Kerr as an example. He's up to $50,000 for his Slasher Nurse campaign, his remake. The more money they gets in his pocket, the better off that movie is. Bring either celebrities, back for reshoots if need be. It's more money for him to play around with.
And this is a time for indie creators.
Plus, us too.
And And I'm not saying to be a scab, but be a scab, because the Hollywood industry blows, and the way that it operates sucks. Because, I mean, I hate to say it. Look at how modern movies are made nowadays. They're not made the way that they used to be. That's why, me and Chris kind of back indie creators. They don't have a panel afterwards discussing what did and didn't work with the movie with a consensus, and then make changes based on that panel or that test demo. Hollywood does that crap all the time. That's why if you're tired of the way Hollywood's doing things, stop supporting Hollywood. You really want to see that new movie, and you don't feel like waiting for streaming or anything of that nature, go out and buy a DVD. Or even better, as terrible as it makes me sound, the Bay will always welcome you.
Yeah. Yeah, talk to Uncle Tony. He has a bunch of stuff that falls off the back of the truck every time.
Sometimes, you got to pull up that ski mask and show the corporate schlubs you're not going to take it anymore. We'll still consume your content. You're just not going to get a dime of it. Because a lot of people were tired of paying through the nose for cable. A lot of people were tired of paying through the nose for streaming. Especially when streaming is putting all these arbitrary rules down for the end user, where it's like, you can't share your password, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And to me, it's like, you guys are just getting greedy. And it really upsets me with places like Disney when they start to do that, and especially Netflix, because there's certain stuff that you can only access through them currently. Like right now, I've forever been waiting to see when the Prey is going to hit Blu-ray. There is no official release date for it at this time. Anything that you see is either a third party or a pirate, because basically Disney is setting on that at Hulu, hoping that you maintain your subscription fees so you can watch it. Same way with Stranger Things. When it first came out, we were getting regular DVD and Blu-ray releases. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. So they're kind of cornering the market on that. And that's why I say to people like, hey, you know, at some point they could completely pull the plug and you're not going to have access. Or heaven forbid something happens to the cloud or the streaming service, you're not going to have access and you're going to wish you had that disc. I mean, name me one streaming service that has Casablanca on it right now that's not a library or a free service. You know, if you really want to watch Casablanca, good luck.
It's not just, I'll put like that, folks. Indie creators want your attention, want your funds. Ask your geeky friends. Ask your geeky friends. They know where to find this shit.
And it's not all trash.
Will hook you up. And it's not all trash. Yeah, you're gonna have trash. Some of it is awesome trash. But
the fans are doing it better than half the studios. Like,
right.
I'd say,
and it's not just that. It's like, I'm not just talking about folks like EPG. I want to say EPG and Darkstone. EPGs put out content. We know George.
Yeah, they're good.
EPG. But go with podcasters, go with YouTubers, because they have great content too. Granted, they could be considered scabs too, because they're a lot of folks like him, hate him, whatever. I know has some drama going on behind him, like Angry Video Game Nerd. Yet does skits, he does reviews. What you could find stuff like this out there. It's there. I have to get back into listening to more podcasts. Who do I listen to right now on Google Play, which is free by the way, and a lot of 95% of podcasts out there are freaking free. I'm listening to Mr. Creepypasta, who does a lot of creepypasta readings. I'm walking around all the place, so it's kind of hard to read a book while you're walking. He reads.
I've been, and I think it's interesting because I hit up the person who does this recently, and they want to have me on the show to discuss Alien.
I saw you watch Alien. I saw you watch it.
Yeah, I still got to continue watching it because I'm taking notes as I go. But I've been listening to this podcaster just popped up on Instagram a couple days ago called the Trans Cinematic Universe Podcast, hosted by a trans guy. And basically they look at films, and not just queer films, not just trans films, but films in general, where characters have a very strong journey or something with character development that somebody from my community might be able to use. Like with me and Alien, I mean, come on. I mean, the reason why Ripley survives is she becomes the most masked character in that whole damn movie. Kind of like how Predator, in order for Arnie to survive, he becomes the most femme character with all the running and hiding. Whereas with Ripley's like, fuck this, give me a flamethrower, let's go find this fucker, And it's nice.
It's what I brought up on my show many years ago, because you've kept hearing about, this is, she had drama hit her, what's her name from the Hunger Games? She's like, it's the first female action figure. And you had folks like you and me just start laughing their ass off, coming out of the woodwork, because we're like, wait a minute, what about what's her name who played Sonya back in the 80s? That's a female action. What about this person? What about Linda Hamilton from Terminator? What about Sigourney Weaver from Alien? What about you've had strong female? What about Linda Carter from the 1980s, the first Wonder Woman herself?
Hunger Games already had tons of problems. All Hunger Games was a rip-off of Battle Royale.
But we can agree on that, because when she came out and said, "Hey, well, it was the first female," I'm like, dude, it's like, bitch, please, man. It's like, heck, before you, I could name 3 actresses that were in an action movie. Oh, by the way, it's called came out in like 99.
She did a lot of action roles.
Yeah, Ferris. I was like, if you want to do modern, Charlie's Angels, starring Lucy Liu, Drew Barrymore, and what's her name? Yeah,
That was
that came
horrible.
out in like 2000. I loved it. Shut up, shut up. Just because I love Lucy Liu, quiet.
That was a horrible movie.
Horrible, but I enjoyed it.
But I'm
But
stuck on Farrah Fawcett. So.
to each their own. But there have been female. Wait, what was her name? I think her name's Grace Jones.
Oh yeah. She's Gary Bird.
She was in like. She played alongside Conan the Bar. It was like the second Conan the Barbarian. It was it the sequel,
Mhm.
and she was in 007 Octopussy. I think it was as well.
Wasn't she
If memory
married
serves.
to that one guy from the guy who sang the Humpty song with the clock?
I think so, but it's the same person. She's a model. She's a singer. She's an actress. She's one badass bitch. And I say that with all love and respect. And she was an action star. Oh, she might not have been the biggest action star in the 80s, but she was there. You had a lot. But still, we're
But at the
both
end
of
of
us
the
are two
day,
sides.
support indie, be a pirate. This writer strike will blow over. But all I can say to the guilds and the studios, contracts, and have it so that contracts renew and change. I'm going to be generous here, every 3 to 5 years. So if you
And
sign
don't treat the
talent,
writers and
yeah,
don't treat your talent like shit.
yeah, and basically have it out with the unions every 3 to 5 years to change the terms of the contract. So I'm gonna tell you now, just because some of us get nostalgic for a certain movie or TV show, like I'm dying to rewatch Northern Exposure, and I can only find about 50% of my discs, and I can't find it anywhere streaming, at least cheaply. Doesn't mean that everybody's suddenly gonna have a kick to go watch Northern Exposure, and don't be greedy about things. Just because this was popular for a period of time doesn't mean it's always going to be popular. There's going to be a period of, oh, what is that word, something reduced returns or something of that nature. Eventually it gets lower as the time goes on, and it's just a greedy, corrupt system, from the studios to the writers to everybody on down. And I hate to say, at the moment you take penny one for your work, you've already sold out. So deal with it.
Yeah, to kind of, I know this is your show, your dance. First of all, don't mind me. I'm replying. We had on my channel, not Sasha's. I had YouTube recently remove 2 links on 2 videos I had and did last year, because what I tend to do, like if I clip out episodes from our chat for video and I post them on YouTube on my channel, I link the full episodes for Sasha on mine, so she gets full credit and folks could watch the full episodes. What I do when I do an unboxing and review, I link the website where people, if they want to try it themselves, despite my review on it, my reaction, they could get it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I linked the website, and because their server had issues, Google and YouTube pretty much said, that's a hacker site. And therefore, it's known to have hacking and phishing schemes. Yet all it was an issue on their back end with an update. There was no hacking or phishing going on. And so I've been in touch with that particular company because they sell decent stuff. They sell good stuff. Was happy with what I got off of them, and they just got back to me and said, "Yeah, oh, now it's like sorry for the ordeal, because again, YouTube attacked us. Like, don't you put that website? You do that, we're going to take away your channel." And I'm like, I talked to them through Twitter, and I was like, "Listen, just to let you know, YouTube, this is what YouTube sent us because we linked your, so folks can find your product." And they're like, "Oh, sorry for the ordeal." It's not their fault. Not their fault at all. This is like just YouTube and Google being the bitch. But to continue, your show a little bit to move things along. And
Well, this
speaking
is
of
why,
nostalgia,
since you brought up YouTube, this is why I post everything to OnlyFans first. This is why
yeah,
anymore most of my videos go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now TikTok, as long as they're under a minute or two. Because going to just YouTube, it's becoming too stringent. Going to Patreon, you have those problems now. That's why I kind of like OnlyFans, because very few people go to it because it's like, oh no, it might be porn. Not everything on there is porn. But you got to start going new avenues to get your content. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with pulling up the ski mask and having it fall off the truck on occasion.
but like I said, to go with a little bit of nostalgia and move things on, I did pick up mainly because of nostalgia, and even though it's a recent release that can be found on modern day consoles in a way, and it's called Dead Island 2. I've got a chance to play it for a while because I was a fan of the original Dead Island, which came out over 11 years ago on
PS3 era, yeah.
PS3, Xbox 360 era. That is pretty much, depending on how you want to look at it, 2 generations ago, if you want to include the current gen of PS5 and Xbox Series consoles, 3 at most, 2 or 3 generations ago, depending on how you want to look at things. Let me just say this. The original Dead Island was a better game, in my opinion. Literally.
I just found them stupidly hard, and I kind of gave up after about the first hour of playing them.
The original Dead Island is possible to play through by yourself. This time around, it's not. Because I got to bring up
the original Dead Island, I kid you not, I think I was stuck in that room for a good hour, or that hotel room that you start out in, and it was like, yeah, this is boring. Where do I go? What do I do? Give me some sort of objective,
The thing with that, where it started to go downhill with me, is that I played it. Yeah, that I tried to play the remake for Xbox One, and
I had that one.
Xbox, the patch station, and I got stuck in a certain spot because there's no repair stations, and you have to rescue somebody, and most of my stuff that I have is considered broken and not powerful enough, and I keep getting my ass beat, for one, and the AI that controls the NPC that I'm supposed to help out wants to walk right in the middle of a bunch of freaking zombies and fist fight everybody.
All I can say is that the original games made me re-pick up Rework, and that says everything. For the uninitiated, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, and that game had buggy AI, and to me, I just don't know how technically a third Dead Island game, even though it's Dead Island 2, I don't know how a third one could redeem itself. I really don't.
The thing is, I don't know what the developers are thinking. It's like I'll get into, they want to take 12 years to get this out. There were a lot of issues. It was like Duke Nukem 3D that came out for the 360 many years ago. It had like one developer. It got passed around like a $2 hooker. This was almost the same way. Dead Island 2, it got passed around from one studio to another, and so that's why it took 12 years to come out. GameStop, and I'll put on the audio side of things, I'll put the GameStop clip in here. I'm going to pause. That way I could see the pause. I'm going, why is this long pause here? I'll include that clip of GameStop calling somebody for their pre-order that they put in 11 years ago. Sam B from the original game does make an appearance in this game, but it's not the same voice actor.
Mm.
They couldn't get Phil Lamar back in to do this. There is some good so far in this game, some good to the game. Let me put it like that. The good thing is the graphics are much better, meaning that when you attack the zombies with a knife or a sword or something like that, you could carve chunks out of a zombie. And doing things there's also the weapon modding, being able to use the environment around you, meaning you're able to pick up like big the jerry cans of water and put them near like downed electrical lines to lure zombies closer to this area that's a booby trap now. Meaning you can shock them with the downed electrical wire in the water. There's a card system instead of a skill tree. I know you're kind of protesting Borderlands, but it's instead of like Borderlands having that skill tree, it's more of a card system that you could alternate out for this. It has its mix and matches for it. You're able to use voice controls for Dead Island 2, meaning if you lay down a trap for a zombie, whether it be an environmental trap, you could go into the game settings, turn on either through Alexa or through your PS5 or your console, the Cortana on the Xbox, and go, here zombie, 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 here zombie, 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 and like with the Alien game that's out. If the alien hears you, when you try hide, it could find you.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, that zombie could turn around and wander to you. But from what I heard in regards to that, you could ask the game, where's a tool bench to repair my weapons? And what the system would answer, or Alexa, if it's on a PC, it would go, Lowe's is 2.5 miles away. Home Depot is 1.5 miles away. Because you said tool bench.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was telling Sasha earlier, this game has a lot of the sequel has more problems in my eyes than ever. Well, one of which is two returning aspects of the game that were kind of revolutionary in the first one, but now it's more of a problem because they compounded issues. One is the aspect of weapons can break. Bad idea. And one of the things that they compounded that is that not only can the weapons be extremely fragile, they kind of were in the first Dead Island. If you walk 10 feet, you could find another weapon on the ground to pick up, whether it be a stick, a shovel, or something like that, a hat rack, a coat rack. With this, the additional weapons are few and far between. Not to mention the tool benches to fix your weapons are, let me put it like this, you could probably find more diamonds than you could tool benches in this game. And the whole aspect, speaking of tool benches in regards to this game, why do I have to pay in-game currency for the tool bench? Meaning, like most games, whether it be whatever game that you do, Mass Effect, again, sorry to bring it up, Borderlands, whatever, that has in-game currency that you could loot and use that loot funds, whether it be dollars, rupees, or whatever, and use that funds at a shop. When you go in Dead Island 2, like in the first Dead Island, if you approach a tool bench to repair your weapon, mod your weapon, craft an item, you are paying out of that money you find. My question is like, well, shouldn't you shouldn't that be at least free? If you're modding it or crafting something, it should be free.
And
because
Fallout 76 doesn't do that.
I was going to ask you, because you're a big Fallout 76 fan.
Yeah,
in Fallout 76, you get like.
Now we don't want to speak too
caps.
loudly because Todd Howard might hear and go,
All right, it's a bad mechanic. It's like, if I craft iron, why am I paying $50 for this?
Is it a bad mechanic or a feature?
They'll say it's a feature because you could go back outside to where out of the safe area and grind by killing more zombies to get more loot that might drop.
Artificially extending the game.
Right. It's just stupid. Not to mention, where in the original game, you could pretty much, you had this infinite backpack where if you picked up stuff, you had everything available to you in your inventory. With the sequel, you're limited to having 16 weapons on hand. Period. That's it. 16. And if there's no way to find more weapons or repair those weapons, you're SOL. They're taking up a spot. And therefore you can't switch things on the fly. Yes, you could store weapons in a locker, but that locker also has 16 spots. And it hinders things. I know you have issues with Gearbox and Borderlands, but it's the best example.
I don't really have that many issues with them. It's more that you don't have Kevin Hart in a Borderlands game, period.
But the aspect of this with Borderlands 2 and
have we even heard anything new about the movie lately? That just kind of
I've heard that it's in post-production, but that's about it. I heard nothing else. But for the most part, in 3, you had that safe. And no matter what character you had created, after your initial character had access to the stuff you put in that safe. And you were able to at least expand that safe up to like 150 spots. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And as much as I didn't like the fact that you had to spend currency to expand those slots, but it's something that, since money was constantly coming in, it wasn't a big issue. With this, it's still that everything is scarce. The fact that you need, I got to pull up my notes so I don't forget. I want to keep this short because the stamina bar also makes a return. It's a bet. To me, I hate stamina bars no matter what the game. And when this game, they want to be, have you ever, let me ask you this, Sasha. Have you ever played Left 4 Dead?
Yes.
That's what they're trying to do with this game at times. It's like, Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead are awesome. Are awesome. They have swarm mechanics, and they do a lot of swarms in this. When your weapons break constantly, and you have a stamina bar that wanders down really fast, fighting off a bunch of zombies that are attacking you, it becomes a bad mechanic. And one of the things that also the game does, remember in Borderlands 3 that you could just turn around and out of nowhere, more psychos appear, right? If you remember that?
Yeah.
Same thing happens with this. You could clear out a whole building, go back downstairs, and all of a sudden there's 15 more zombies there, and the doors are locked and closed. And it just makes things annoying. And if you pick up Dead Island 2, and then I pick up Dead Island 2 for the PS PlayStation, let's say you pick it up this week, and in a month I pick it up, I can't join your game.
That's stupid.
There's no drop out. We both have to start our games at the exact same time and play at the exact same time.
Yeah, multiplayer online games, it shouldn't matter where you start, what your level is, or your progression. At this point, from now on, major game studios, hear me out here. If you got an IP that you want to do something like this, just give it to Ilphonic. They know how to do it right. I mean,
Evil
also
the game has
Ghostbusters, Friday the 13th. They're doing Texas
Evil
Chainsaw
Dead.
Massacre.
I have Friday the 13th and Evil Dead for at least my Xbox side of things. I can understand the appeal and everything. You just need a group to play. Like in the first Dead Island. Yeah, true.
Predator.
Where in the original you could stock up on like as many health kits as you can. With this, you're limited to like 3 health kits. That's it. 3. You can't expand that number. Whereas in the original, you could, if you were able to get or make 50 med kits, you could hold that many. Same thing with grenades, Molotovs, etc. This time around, they're called curveballs. Yes, you can have, in essence, infinite curveballs, but you have to wait until they recharge. And it takes a minute to 2 minutes for each one to recharge. Which, again, when there's a swarm and you have 3 mini-boss, bullet sponge type enemies, zombies in front of you, that's going to take a while, especially when you have that bullet sponge of a zombie calling in more zombies to that location.
So just stick with your Dead Rising remasters and call it a day.
Right.
Because there's nothing better than like cutting down zombies with a samurai sword and restoring your health with big giant jugs of orange juice.
Right.
And putting on silly costumes.
I doubt they're going to hear this, but Valve, I'm dying for a remaster for Left 4 Dead.
They'll get right on that after you get your sequel to Half-Life.
Yeah, they'll get on that when everybody gets the sequel to Half-Life. But I enjoyed Left 4 Dead. Yes, it was aggravating. It was frustrating. But I knew what the game was when I walked into it, pretty much. They let you know, this is what's going to happen. These are the rules. This is what we did. Okay. That means I'm going to be raging all the time.
See,
we know.
I blame From Software. It's all From Software's fault because now everybody wants to make a game stupidly difficult, and it's like, you're not From Software. Don't do it.
Now, what gets me is that this is an issue that I've had since, I'll say, Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and that's the aspect of, let's make this a multiplayer game that, in a way, yes, is it possible for a single player to play? Yes, but it's going to be so difficult that you need friends to play with it or turn on the multiplayer aspects of the game to kind of decrease the difficulty of it. And that's what sucks, because not many folks at home, I doubt any major AAA game developers are going to see this, but though Sasha has a Xbox One Series console, I have an Xbox Series S console. We could still play a lot of the same games that are available to each other. But Sasha's favorite console is a PlayStation. Mine's an Xbox. Can both of us play the same games on our PlayStations that we have? Yes, just that we have to have the same games. Matter of fact, I think I've helped when we were playing. But for the most part, when we were playing Borderlands 3 a lot, we were helping each other out.
Right.
A lot of times. And it was drop in. Same thing when I was playing Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I was helping, me and my buddy had to play half the game because playing it on single player, we were getting our asses whooped on single player. We had to play co-op in that. And if it wasn't for him, neither of us would have finished the damn game.
Right.
Because it was just too damn hard.
And I think a lot of like developers out there now have forgotten the arcade experience and the couch co-op experience. Aside from indie devs, because indie devs really seem to be on the ball with that. Like Revenge of the Shredder, that's a drop in, drop out game. Like if I saw you and you were well into the game, I can still drop in at any point and help you with level. Just like back in the arcade days, if you were playing Dungeons and Dragons by Capcom in the arcade, I can pop in a quarter, doesn't matter where you're at, I can drop in and play with you. And I think a lot of developers have forgotten the arcade experience and what a joy it was to see a friend that's further along and you see him get stuck and you can hop in and help them out.
Yeah, it's one of granted, I've always said I'm also because of my financial status, I'm also, even though I promote indie creators, I also promote games for cheap bastards because I'm a cheap bastard. That's why I like I think it's the Cowabunga collection. That's like 15 games in one. Yes, you're paying $20-$30 for it, but you're getting a shit ton of games.
And like Revenge of the Shredder is like $15 as a digital download. Again, indie creator.
Right. And plus you have games like Rare Replay, which you have like 30 plus games. Yes, it's an Xbox exclusive, but you have 30 plus, classic games from Rare on that, including if you get it digitally, you're also getting GoldenEye. So that's a value for your money. Yeah, you're paying $15-$20 for it, or $30, or even, I'm doing Xbox exclusives. Halo, the Master Chief Collection. It's $30 at time. Most days it's $30. You get 4 games, technically 5, 4 games. Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4. The reason why I say technically 5 is because Halo 4 came with a game add-on, which was like a kind of a little side mission. It was 10 levels that you played another Spartan, kind of exploring the areas that Master Chief kind of looked at and went through. You're there to help the scientists. You're here to clear out an area so the United States Marine Corps could come in and set up bases and do research and have archaeologists come in. It was like an extended story part of the Halo verse. Plus you have the DLCs, which roughly, if you add the 2 DLCs in, there's an extra $10. So let's say $40. You get 6 games, plus the full add-on, all the maps, all the multiplayer and all that, plus all the whatever fan creations for the Forge, plus the Horde modes. So you're getting a shit ton for your money. And plus, granted, the Cowabunga collection, like you talked to, is PC and PlayStation and Xbox. You have the Handsome Jack collection, plus you have the Handsome Jack collection also bundled with the Game of the Year edition. So you're getting 3 games plus all the DLC, for the exception of the Lilith add-on, which is extra, but still you're getting 3 games for maybe. You could always, Borderlands is constantly on sale. You could get it for $30.
Yep.
And that's $10 a game.
And there's always something to be said about, because like right now you've got several consoles that are technically end of life, but nobody really wants to rush out and buy the new systems. So there's a lot of budget titles that are dropping. Before the show started, I mentioned to Chris that there's another Aliens game getting ready to drop on the previous generation Xbox and the PS4. And I'm like, I just picked up Fireteam. What's this? Well, there's another one coming. There's always budget titles that are going to be under $20. Also keep in mind, you're going to have your mom and pop game resellers. Best times I've had is picking up a cheap game I had no idea about at like a cheap mom and pop store. Like recently I picked up World War Z for the PS4. Yeah, shitty movie, but this is an interesting like squad-based zombie shooter, and it's pretty fun, and it's cost me $5.
Yeah, you can find cheap, depending on where. I don't get. Yes, I agree with Sasha's buying physical media. If you have somebody that has though I have a Series S, it doesn't have a disk drive. But if you know somebody that has a Xbox One system or a PS4 that has a disk drive, you could go to a place here in good old Dirtyburg, Martinsburg. There's Panhandle Games. Great bunch of guys. They have stuff for every system from Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Wii, Switch, Game Boy, PlayStation, original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, 3, 4, and I'm sure they have stuff for 5. They have controllers. When I want a this does, wear out or get stripped, including my Xbox controller, I go there.
Yep.
It's cheaper. And they got my, they also sell geeky stuff. I got my laminate configuration there too. They have, I know when I was picking up, somebody I knew inherited my Xbox that had the HDMI port fizzled out on because they were able to fix it. And I told them, if you're able to fix it, wipe the hard drive, it's yours. They're like, ooh, I can do that. And they've been having a good old time on the Xbox One series. And they said, like, I want to try Borderlands. So I went in there on my way to work, picked up Borderlands 3 Master Chief Collection for like $8. And I have to hand it to them, so I have it. Just got to hand it to them.
But yeah, like, there's always ways to do stuff on a budget, and some of these newer AAA games, like before the start of the show, I mentioned to Chris about the latest Jedi game that came out called Jedi Survivor, and that is still buggier than lizard shit at the moment. They keep doing updates and patches, they keep finding bugs galore, because they don't make games good when they first come out. Nowadays
it's not just that. It's the damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. They don't bring it out. You get a game like Redfall and Jedi, the current Jedi game. It's buggier. It's there's this problem. There's that. Why'd you release this so early? Yet if they delay the game,
people throw a fit.
To fix those issues, people are going. The same people that complain that when they release it early, it's buggier, has more bugs in it than rotted meat, are going to be complaining, why is this game delayed?
Yeah, it's the same lose-lose situation.
Right.
But it just makes me harken back to the old school game days. But being
why do you think I'm playing the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster right now on the PlayStation? Not as we're talking, but why do you think I picked it up? One, I want it. Two, nostalgia. 3, it's playing better than fucking Dead Island. And so it's like I'm enjoying myself.
Even as a budget gamer, like some of those games that came out and was poorly reviewed because they were full of bugs, you buy the game 2 or 3 years later, they probably have all the kinks worked out.
Right.
There are like people when Sonic Boom, for example, came out. Kind of lost track of Sonic games after about Sonic 06 because that was a mess in and of itself. But people gave Sonic Boom a ton of crap when it first hit. But if you were to pick that game up today for PS4, Wii U, Switch, or anything of that nature, you're going to find it runs perfectly fine. And you're going to be like, well, what were all these reviews about? And that's the benefit of being a budget gamer, because not only are you getting it at a deep discount, you probably can also get all the DLC at a deep discount, but most of the updates are already done. All the game-breaking bugs are gone.
Same thing, though, I brought up Redfall, Deadfall, whatever it is. Though it's buggy, it was a lot of hype, and from what I've been hearing, it's a shit game. Right now, it's getting a lot of negative reviews. But look at it from my standpoint. And I'm an Xbox Live Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, which means I have access to Game Pass. therefore, when a game like Redfall comes to Game Pass, I can download it and try it out. So if it's buggier than rotted meat, I don't have to worry about it. I just delete it. I didn't pay it. In essence, I didn't pay a dime for it.
Right.
But so I can try it. That's why I don't want to pick up like the Halo Infinite. It's still buggier. I don't like it. So enough of that. I know you want to talk about a few other things as well.
Well, I think I'm going to forego
What did you want to get?
Spider-Man things. It's mostly the MCU is kind of angling in what's her name, something Khan, who is the Miss Marvel. They're kind of making her kind of like their new Spider-Man-esque kind of character. Not like literally have spider powers, but to have like this teenage character that's learning from the more mature characters, because eventually they're going to phase out, obviously, Spider-Man from the MCU, kind of like with Riri Williams as Ironheart is replacing Iron Man. But honestly, at the end of the day, the MCU eventually is just going to have to reboot anyway.
Right.
And now that they're already announcing X-Men, they might as well just let's start fresh.
I don't know if you're going to agree or not. I'm not knocking Tom Holland is in recent years, one of the best Spider-Man out there. With his run on the past 3 movies, he did a bang-up job. I respect the fact that he wants to take his time, take more time off, because he even the article I read in regards to him stepping away from Spider-Man is because over the past many years he's suffered a lot of stress and went to abused alcohol and all that to help take the edge off, and he wants to take his time now in regards to the industry and take a few years off. So you know what, respect to him in regards to what he did a wonderful job. As much as the fans, including myself, would love to see him make a comeback or make a guest spot at some point, but if he needs to take time off, let him take the time off. Let him,
look at it.
What I know, we have probably a few minutes left. What do you want to go into, Miss Madams?
Well, obviously, the other big announcement, cinema-wise, is
Madam Sasha.
after so many years, we're finally getting Beetlejuice 2. And honestly, as a kid of the 80s, I'm not that excited. In fact, I'm disappointed because it feels like a movie, 40 years too late?
Right. And if Michael Keaton wants to do it, let him do it. I hope I'll have to show the 2 videos together, and I'll put them up either on Facebook or I'll post them up on Facebook because it's a little bit more acceptable. Because I don't want to reshare them on YouTube or TikTok. But I'll put up on Facebook. I saw it on TikTok, both parts. He had a Beetlejuice theory. Want to hear it?
Go ahead.
Oh, the fact he tried to. I'll have to share it so you can see the video. But what he was saying is like what they did was what happened to them. One, if you want to go with the fact that they are dead, they were not. What happened to them was not done by accident. It was done on purpose. Because the dog, he said, if you look at where the dog was first seen in the movie, the original movie, it was coming out of the real estate agent that kept bugging them to sell their house. So that dog, yes, it seemed like a stretch. He said that dog, good chance the person not only was a real estate agent, dabbled in some sort of dark arts, because there was no way that dog could balance on a plank of wood, keeping that car in balance. And thus, that real estate agent murdered those 2 people to kick off the movie and get it sold to the people that took up the house after their demise. But he would also say he drew comparison to the Martin Lawrence movie that was similar to a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court.
Yeah.
That
The Black Knight.
they didn't Black Knight. I'm not going to judge the movie too much because I didn't really see Black Knight.
I have.
But he compared, but he compared it to as what Black Knight might be. He didn't, meaning that they didn't die. They went to a different dimension where, though you could claim that there is death parallels where some of the servants that helped out can be claimed as suicide, unalive victims, depending on where this is viewed. Does have to serve those in the afterlife. This was just a realm occupied by monsters.
See, I don't really see that fans theory becoming any part of the movie. Because there was already like spec scripts for Beetlejuice 2 after the first Beetlejuice came out, simply entitled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. And my brain immediately goes to that. But I'm like, Michael Keaton's a little too old to be dressed up as Beetlejuice and rocking a Hawaiian shirt. I would still pay to see it, but I've just got a feeling it's going to come off very much akin to what we got with Hocus Pocus. And with Hocus Pocus, that was only under 30 years time difference. This is almost 40 years, and it's kind of like, I get that the Broadway show is doing excellent and the Broadway show is its own thing, but do we honestly need to revisit it? Sometimes one and done is great. It's like all the rumors I keep hearing about, a remake of to Death Becomes Her or a requel. And I'm like, no, just sometimes movies are perfect as one and done.
Yeah, I saw the Hocus Pocus sequel. For those who love it, let me burst your bubble. It was more overrated than The Big Lebowski. More overrated. The original never required a sequel. This was just a money grab by Disney.
Oh, that's an advertisement.
This was just
Walgreens.
Yeah, and it was just a nostalgia fest. That's all it was. Now, on the other hand, I can because you brought up the whole aspect of seeing Michael Keaton dressed as Beetlejuice in a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, the Flash.
Him appearing in the new Flash movie as Batman can be some. The drama behind Idris Miller, how the heck you say their
Ezra
name?
Miller. Yeah,
Ezra Miller. Despite the whole drama behind that particular person aside,
they need to bury that movie. They just need to be done with it. They buried Batgirl, and Batgirl also had a Michael Keaton scene in it too, because Michael Keaton was set to.
You know what? Let's bury the Flash movie and bring back the Batgirl movie. How about that? How about that?
That's a fair compromise because we get Brendan Fraser and Michael Keaton Batman.
There we go. Because as much as many people would say,
right?
Yeah. As many people would say, well, Brendan Fraser is a national treasure. He's humble. He's humble. He's humble. Like, we need more Brendan Fraser in our life. So I'll say it like that.
Yes. Well, I will gladly trade Batgirl for the Flash.
Right.
The Flash into the deepest, darkest pit of hell, and then we can have Batgirl with Brendan Fraser and Michael Keaton. You get all of it without all the problems. But anyway,
that's anywho. That's a different conversation, an argument that me and Sasha could have for another day and another. That probably requires a bunch of alcohol on both sides,
or more of my pain meds because I look crispy fried at the moment.
So either way.
Well, as we like to say here, we want you all to keep it or creep it real, take scare, and unpleasant screams. And make sure you're watching Long Coat Mafia podcast because he's got a few episodes up now.
We have a few episodes on our YouTube channel, and we have a bunch of audio episodes in our back catalog, audio-wise. links in the description, hopefully, and all that fun jazz. So feel free to check out our YouTube channel, Audio Aspects. We have 90 episodes on the most popular outlets. So check us out.